Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
Here we go, guys. What's up, everyone? It's been a pretty cool week. There's been a lot of games on this week and rain and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty interesting, and I'm really keen to get into this and to talk about some of the stuff that I've been seeing over this past week with all the games that I've seen. And this week I've got 13 games to watch that I've watched. Obviously, I watch all of them. Like I said before, I watch them quickly, and sometimes watch two at a time, and sort of go back and forth and look at different stuff and rewind and all that kind of, and then after that, throughout the week, I break down the games that I've already watched, and then kind of just watch one or two players at a time and guys that I found interesting throughout the first watch. And it's been pretty cool to sort of break down some of the players that I've seen. A few guys that I looked at from Hastings in an Napier game, and also from the Lindisfarne and Whanganui one. The Scots and Scots and Hibs one was pretty interesting to see, and sort of watching some of the Hibs players and getting to know them. I did that last week with the Upper Hutt boys, some of the ones that I've been watching for a while, and just keeping a track of who's in there and how they're doing. Same with the St. Bernard's guys as well, is another one that I've been keeping a track of with some of those boys, and how the teams are kind of looking. So we're going to start with some of the earlier games, and obviously the first one that I kind of wanted to look at and talk about was because the first game was on Monday, and that was Timaru boys and St. Andrews playing. And that game, even though Torian Barnes didn't play, I kind of feel that Timaru still could have won that game. I think they would have made changes for him and because of him, and most of their focus would have been on Torian Barnes if he played. Winning 34-26, Timaru boys. I feel like I just kind of feel like Torian Barnes wouldn't have been the reason why they won, why they would win if he was to play. I still think the result would have been the same because of how Timaru boys is playing right now. And I know it's easy to say, well, Torian would have scored a try, which may be true, but I don't know if 8 points is the difference between Torian playing and not playing. And I definitely think Torian is going to make New Zealand secondary schools again. And I think here's the thing with New Zealand secondary schools, right? Like New Zealand secondary schools, even if you make it as a year 12, you might not make it as a year 13. And it has happened in the past a few times. And whether you agree with it or not, things like that still do happen. And so even if you made it 1 year, like even the boys that made it last year, like Shea and Lawaki, like Clark Lawaki, and who were the other ones that were Torian, like even guys like Taha and that, as much as we see them and how good they are, they're not always guaranteed a spot. Even AJ in that, it's not guaranteed a spot. And the reason why you're not really guaranteed a spot, and you'll just think, well, if they made it last year, they can make it this year. The reason why is because they have different selectors coming in and out all the time. And you have different guys evaluating the different positions. So the next guys that come in may not like your game, may not like the way that you do things, and then you might miss out. Even though you made it like the year before. So that's the only reason why I say. I still think that Torian's going to make it this year. No doubt about it. Even with the heavily stacked positions of blindside and number 8, not open side so much, but blindside and number 8, that I still think Torian's going to make it. And you still got Gala Malasia, and you still got Cooper Flanders, who I want to talk about, and then you still got Shay Clark. And then, you know, you got guys around the country that others, I guess, consider probably should be in there. I mean, Malachi is Rampling is also definitely another one. Tino Savia is probably another one that guys want to sort of look out for from Lindisfarne College. Sam Morgan is another one from Silverstream who I do actually like. And the reason why he's not in the top 200 is that I'm trying to find that place where he sort of lands right now. And I think that he's like a top 60, 70 player, and then he would be within the top 10 of loose forwards for sure. It's just finding that spot, and it's not that he's not good or anything like that, but that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. But I mean, you know, you still got a lot of guys around the country that are still building themselves as players, and so we're not too sure what's going to happen with that lot. But you know that 6, 8, and 7 is pretty stacked. The 7 one is the 7 position. The open side position is a position that's open. There's a position where I don't feel like there's anybody around the country right now that is an all-out open side. That's his position kind of thing. Whereas I see Cooper Flanders as being the best loose forward and could do numbers, and he could be a number 7. And he could be another 7, you know, and do it really well. And even right now, in terms of, if I was to pick New Zealand secondary schools right now, I would put him there. I would put him there open side. I'd probably have Shay Clark at 6. Or even at lock, because I've always kind of looked at him as a little bit of a lock as well. And, you know, having him and someone like Taylor Cahill from Hamilton Boys in at lock, those two guys there, just in, you know, pure toughness, I think would go great. Even though we have Tommy Hamilton as well, who's another really good lock, and Matthew Monaghan is also a solid guy as well. You know, as locks from around the country, I still think if we had Shay, Taylor Cahill, if you had Cooper Flanders, and I think the toss-up will be Gala Malasia at number 8, or you could have Malachi Rampling at number 8, and then you could probably have Torian Barnes at 6. And then it's trying to find what is the best combination to have between those kind of boys. And I'm not sure what would be the best fit in that way as well, and who you would go for. But I mean, I guess the way that you know, you've got to sort of look at it is pretty much who you're going to leave out. That's probably the other one, is like who you're going to leave out. Because even if you were to talk about locks, right, and I know that I'm going off on a different direction now from what we were talking about. But if you're talking about just locks right now, if you had Andrew Smith from St. Peter's, Andrew Smith from St. Peter's would be one. Tommy Hamilton from Selwyn Schools would be another. Cahill, Taylor Cahill would be the other one, and you could have Shay Clark in there. He would be close to being another one as well. Peter Te Kahu would be another one from New Plymouth Boys High, who would be another guy that you would kind of want to bring into that pack of players that you want for those positions. The other ones I think would be Dominic from St. Kennedy, from Kelston Boys High, in terms of this hybrid lock blindside. Who else is am I missing? I feel like I'm missing someone else. Oh, sorry, Maya. Maya would be the other one. Schmidt, Timo Schmidt would be probably another one that I would heavily look into for as a lock. Because all of those guys bring that size and strength and physicality that you need, like especially if we're going to play Australia again, those would be the kind of attributes that I'd be looking at in terms of trying to at least win the ball, win our rucks, be able to front up physically, and also have the height and strength to also be able to become dominant against Australia, because Australia always brings a really good size, regardless of how many times we've beaten them in the past. It's whatever. But they always bring a lot of good quality players, and the best at their position really do stand up pretty tall, and they always got a lot of tall white boys that are really athletic and just really good at doing their job. And so like those are kind of the other things that you sort of have to look into as well. I think Max Bryant might be another one that you would want to look at as well, or if you want to bring in some of the younger guys like Max Ratcliffe would be one for sure that I would probably want to look at. He would be one for sure that I'd probably want to look at. Lens Maunga from Manurewa would probably be another one that I'd want to look at as these younger year 12 guys, and just seeing how, because they're always going to pick some year 12 guys. You don't really know how much they're going to pick, but you're always going to kind of pick them. They're always going to try and pick them up. Because Jacob Mitchell as well from New Plymouth Boys is another kid who's playing pretty far out of his range of what you think he was. Peyton Spencer's the same, as we also kind of yesterday against on Saturday against Palmy. Francis Manu Leluua is probably the other one that's going to make New Zealand secondary schools as a year 12, and he'll be there at second 5, either starting or whatever. But him and Peyton, Max, Te Hamana, Teote will probably be another one that would be there in the New Zealand secondary school frame. That all are part of the younger boys. Conrad Newlands from Whanganui Collegiate, I wouldn't be surprised if he was there, or Gus Brown. Those kind of guys as well. Ben Donovan's another one, and I'm really excited to see St. Bede's. I'm going to come up to St. Bede's and St. Peter's game to see these kind of guys that we don't really get to see much of. And so, it's going to be pretty interesting. And then, those are just my quick thoughts on sort of like my breakdown of what the New Zealand secondary school forward pack in terms of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those kind of positions. And so I wasn't actually planning on talking about that, but that just came up and I rambled with it. But those are kind of my thoughts as of now. And the reason why I put out my early rep teams, and I'm going to do the Highlanders one soon, maybe today or tonight. But I think I've already changed my mind about a few of the boys in the Blues team, a few of the boys in the Chiefs team, and kind of a lot of boys in the Hurricanes, but it's more of a change around rather than a take out, put in, because there are some other players, and just breaking down more games and watching it differently is kind of what makes me make up my mind on certain players and what they do on the field, and then to me the value of that goes up, and so that's one that I've kind of been looking at, and come the end of in the next few months or the next few weeks or so, I want to try and put mine out before the official ones come out, so that I don't look like I'm trying to sort of copy their teams, because I'd never copy their teams, not at all. But yeah, that was how did we get onto this? Oh, sorry, because of Timaru and Stack. So Timaru and Stack, I don't think that was Timaru is still one of the best teams in the comp right now, and then winning on Monday but losing on Saturday to St. Bede's, even to me, kind of tells me that in that region, St. Bede's is the best team, and they are the team to beat. And then coming up to Auckland is going to be a good gauge on where those boys from down south match up with these guys from up in Auckland. And I know that you're playing St. Peter's against St. Bede's, but in the large picture of things, you're playing Christchurch teams against Auckland teams. And however that goes, that gives me sort of the look at for how the national rankings go in terms of matching up the wins and losses, and the value of that kind of happening. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. And I think that's on Wednesday. So anyways, that game went on. The Timaru game went on against St. Andrews, beating St. Andrews on Monday. Then the girls first 15 in Auckland, because they always play on Mondays. Mags beating Manurewa, Southern Cross beating Marist, Auckland girls beating Aorere, and then Wesley beating One Tree Hill. And then it's funny too, because I found out about the Manukura game against Hamilton girls late, that I didn't even have time to figure out how I was going to organize everything to go to Tupou. Because if I had actually known on the Saturday, I would have cut my trip short to somewhere else, and then left it so that I could plan for that day and go down and watch Manukura and Hamilton girls, because that would have been, to me, maybe the biggest game of the year in terms of girls first 15 rugby. Now, Manukura winning that 33-15 gives a bit of a perspective of how it was, regardless of how much it rained and blah 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 whatever. That's gotten really nothing to do with it, because you're dealing with the same kind of circumstance and the same obstacles on the day, which is the rain, slippery ball, footing, all that kind of stuff that comes with rain. Now, I actually think that if you were to have a top 5 in girls first 15 rugby, I think I would be putting Manukura first. I think Christchurch girls would come second. I think Auckland Grammar girls will come third. I think Hamilton girls come fourth. And I think Mags come fifth. And then there's kind of a toss-up between Southland girls, because I know that they have a lot of talent down there. Southland girls fielding. What was the other one? Southland girls fielding. Southern Cross will be another one. St. Mary's would be the other one as well. And maybe Cullinane would be the other one, if I'm saying that school right. And someone please correct me and tell me how to say it. But the one from Whanganui. And that is like another big school. And I think Cullinane might be closer to the top 5 than what I'm saying. They might even be 6th or 7th. And I've kind of been following this year because they've putting out so much content, which has been pretty cool to start to watch and then see how they're doing. But if that was the case, that would kind of be my top 5, being Manukura Christchurch girls, Auckland girls, Hamilton girls, Mags, and then either Southland girls, Fielding girls, Southland Fielding, Cullinane, St. Mary's, Southern Cross, all those kind of teams are around that top 10 area. And those are just the ones that I've seen. So I don't really know how Otago girls is really doing, or Tauranga girls, or Westlake. These are just the ones I'm doing. And I know that there's a bunch of tennis-sides going on, which is great because that was part of my idea anyway, to have a big tennis-side tournament, but make sure that they were every 6 weeks so that everyone can gather within their region, play, pick a tournament team, then go off, play the rest of the season, come back again, and do that 4 times a year. And then you'll be able to find a bunch of under 18 girls that you can take into camp, just like they do with the boys, and then you'll get a better product out of that, as well as do a lot of scouting for Whareparma Cup, where those coaches can come in and watch all these tournaments and go, hey, let's grab this girl, let's get this girl, and give them all opportunities, just like they do the boys, and just build on top of that. And then New Zealand Rugby will have something there. Obviously, New Zealand Rugby don't listen because they just don't like to listen to anyone except for themselves. And so they've taken half of my plan, and then the other half, they're just leaving it until they figure out that the other half is great too. Then they'll put it together and they'll go, hey, look at this new product, which is, just the way that they work. Anyways, let's take away these hurt feelings that I've got. And Christ. So Christ College beating Otago boys 26-13, which, I don't want to take away from the win, because a win is a win, and it's up to you whether you want to, take it serious or not. But, and this is a big but, I know that in terms of who was on the field, and I guess whether you want to take it serious or not, and because I love these traditional games, and I love the way that they're played, and the travel that you get to do and all that kind of stuff as well. But my thing is that I would hope that everybody sends the best possible team that they have. Samisi Tupou didn't start. Finn Hurley didn't start. I think Ronan didn't even play a full game, I think. But you're not getting the full Otago team. And again, I'm not trying to take away from the win, but whether you just want to win every game or not is kind of the attitude that you just want to take to games, right? I understand that they have a season still to go and they want to save their players, but I don't know. The way that I guess compete, I always want to compete and be the best regardless of, anything else, and just whatever happens. But, coaches want to try and protect the players and their season as much as possible, and don't really see traditionals as important. So, it's just one of those things. So they won. So Christ won 26-13. Kings also won 12-10 over Southland boys. And so Otago is kind of looking like the strongest team in that competition right now. Southland losing to John McGlashan and Kings, and John McGlashan also losing to Otago and Kings, and sort of just this back and forth. Otago looking like the strongest team, but that four-way comparison, that four-way battle between all of them is pretty tight, and it's kind of like whoever messes up on the day or doesn't come prepared on the day is going to lose. And all of the games are going to be pretty tight and pretty competitive all the way through. So that second round is going to be pretty interesting as well. I want to kind of talk about, because I've always kind of looked at Wellington College as a falling rugby program, and this year is like the first time that I've ever kind of like had a lot of faith in their team, and the reason why is because I went to that competition, that rugby day down in Nelson, and saw what the team looked like, and saw how good they looked and how exciting they looked as a team, and them really fronting up well to Napier boys who are consistently strong every single year. And so I had like a really good feeling about them. But then as I started to watch some of their games and the way that they sort of conduct themselves on the field, I was always kind of wondering why they weren't winning by a lot more points when when I kind of expected them to as well. I actually expected them to beat the Scots College, winning that Scots College game. And even though they won against Silverstream, I kind of think that they could have won by more. And it's okay that they're doing it now in their own competition. But then, because I'm always looking from a national perspective, like a national championship is always kind of what I talk about, and where I kind of think that most teams should be concentrating on is the national championship after winning your own as well anyway. So my thing for Wellington, and I kind of just picked it up, is that I think the forward pack lack a lot of fight around the breakdowns, and it was kind of deceiving when I saw them the first time, and I thought I looked at all the boys and I was thinking, far out, there's a lot of athleticism and length and height, a lot of speed. All these guys are like fit as, and I was thinking, but why aren't they dominating in these games? Why aren't they really taking over? And it has to do more with the breakdown and the rucks. And I noticed like a lot of the boys, and I ain't trying to step on you guys or anything like that, or trying to be negative at all. But let's say you guys do win the Wellington competition, which is a realistic thing. I really do think that you guys can win it. But what happens when you have to go and play Palmy, Hastings, or Napier? I just don't think that with the way that they're playing and the style in which they're playing, that they'll be able to even front up to those guys. And to me, it's got to do with toughness around the rucks. And the reason why I say this is that it's not only the toughness, but it's the mongrel and the attitude of not being pushed back, finishing your tackles with shoulders and hits, not being pushed over, not being driven through, and once making it hard for a forward pack to gain control of the ruck because you've stopped pursuing the pressure on the ball. and over the rucks. And a lot of the times I have seen the boys spread out. They make the tackle, spread out. Make the tackle, spread out. There's no real fight. The only ones that I've really seen fight is Ashton. Ashton Tiao was probably the only one that I've seen really fight for that ball and really have a go at it. And that's just in the forward pack. And then usually you have someone like Josh Williams, who's just a tough guy all around, that's just his attitude and the way that he plays. And you can see it in the Silverstream game as well. If you watch it again, is that there's been 2 breakdowns where he just ran in, flipping Supermaned himself into the rucks, stopped and hit the ruck, and then he just powered through, and then they got a turnover. And, the halfback was struggling to get him. That's when the halfback, has got bums in his face from the guys up front. He's trying to hold them back and all that kind of stuff. And he couldn't get the ball out. And Joshua Rollin just powered through. Isaiah's the other one, who also just mongrels himself through the rucks. But then my thing is just like, why are these backs doing it? Why are they the ones coming in? Like, Fuka is the other one that I see that comes in and he really disturbs the rucks. But I was like, well, we can't have 2 wingers and a second 5 coming in and doing their job with Ashton. The other boys have to do it as well. And like I said, it's like, it's not their athleticism to get there, because all these guys run around and make tackles. But not a lot of them run around, make tackles, get to their feet, and try and drive through the rucks. They don't try and drive over the ruck. They don't try and drive through it and try and break it down so that all the other team can come through. It's like they make the tackle, get up, spread out. And like, I understand if that's instruction from the coaches, then I'm sorry. I've got it wrong. That's what you're supposed to do. But if that's not the message, then you boys have got to do something about that and go, well, either get angry at me and go, well, Herschel doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'll show him what it's like to fight for the rucks. Cool. But that forward pack just needs to be tougher. They need to have some mongrel. They need to just be dogs on the field. And I'm not saying this like, I saw the 2 big hits that came from that game. Flipping, what's his name? Fa'aloloto. VAR, he just laid out, who was it? Laid out somebody, and then I think Bailey or Matt smashed someone as well. But that's 2 or 3 incidences where that split second mattered and that showed that you were tough. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from ruck to ruck. Asserting yourself as the dominant forward pack and really trying to get in their face like you're not going to move me off this plot, and if you try and push me back, I'm pushing back again, and you're not going to get it over me. And that's kind of what I think that attitude should be. Ashton comes with that attitude anyway. That may be just his personality to be that dog in himself. That stuff needs to rub off into some of those other guys as well and show that they're not going to be pushed around so easy or not just give up on that play. I understand smart rugby and smart football and playing what's in front of you, but sometimes you got to get a lot of that mongrel in there and get that team across from you scared wearing the other uniforms. These guys have so many guys like Will Anderson, who's been playing really mean, Michael Jacobs as well, who's kind of been in and out. Shiloh's been really good too in terms of getting around the field, but at the same time that mongrel's still got to come out of all of them, as well as Bailey and Matt. Faloloto is probably the other one as well. It's just like, these guys are all big, tall guys that can cover a lot of field because they're all fit and they're all fast. But then they got to fight for that extra one. And just because you get pushed back doesn't mean you stop. Sometimes it means they don't have enough support. I've got to keep going. Because that's what's going to get you the turnover. The fact that they're not prepared and fit enough to get over there, that you find yourself on a one-on-one or a one-on-two. Every forward, I think, can win a one-on-two battle. If there's just one of you and there's just 2 there and you can push away through them, push your way through them. Especially if you see that there's one guy who's going to be here in a second and a half, do your thing to do it so that when he comes and backs you up, you guys can have that 2-on-2 battle and then be able to disrupt them. It's going to affect every single team if you're not stopping to get to that ball. That they have to play so conservative around the ruck that it does mess up their flow on the game. It does slow down the ball for them to get it away. Just because you can play a lot of speed, which Wellington can, and if Wellington start playing speed on you, the only ones that I can see that can really stop that is Scots, because Scots play a speed ball as well. But if they can master that speed ball game as well as master the toughness and mongrel around that game, I think Wellington is the best team in that competition. Which is if. And they've got Namir Tialada there as one of their coaches. One of the toughest guys that was around in the All Blacks when he was in the All Blacks and in Super Rugby. He played like a tough guy, so I don't know if that's just not rubbing off on the boys and how, and they see that or they just don't know that, but that's just kind of how it is and how how many years that I watched him on TV, that's just how he played. But Wellington have that chance and opportunity right now to be the best team in the Wellington competition, and I think if they sort it out, they can even be one of the better teams in that Hurricanes division, in that Hurricanes region. Because physically in that, they are all there. Physically in that, like you've got Bailey who's like 6'4". And he's so fast and he's so quick. Matt Iffy is the same way as well. And then Ashton, it looks like he's around 6'2", 6'1", but just solid. And all of them are really good, lengthy players. And I think they can match up well with everybody else as a trio. And so I don't see a reason why they can't be one of the best players in the region. And if they get back to the top 4 this year, the last time they did that is when I started Top 200 in 2013. When Nelson Solomona was there and West was there, like those guys were there. Now if they can do that, it's like, man, that's a big one for the school. That's a big one for the boys and for the school and for that program. And I think that, and I don't even think that's like really far-fetched at all. I really think they can do it. One of the other games on Wednesday that I really liked was the Whanganui Collegiate one in Lindisfarne. And I think, and it's funny too, because when I put out my team, right, and some obviously you don't really know guys that are in other teams, and you're not really sure on who they were and what they really like. But Sean O'Leary is man, that kid is so good. He just moved into first 5 for the game, and he just dominated the whole game. Just so talented, so sure about himself, knows the game really well, and just he just goes and he was one of the guys that I thought was just kind of like one of those new kind of breeds. He sort of plays the same as Riley Higgins from last year. Maybe not as physical, but he's such a smart player as well, and he can get in and out of problems, and either he can run the ball or kick it or whatever, but he just doesn't. He was one of the ones that I really liked, and they won their game against Lindisfarne as well, and the Whanganui's looking like a team that could move into that top 25 this week as well. So that's just one of the things I'm trying to weigh up as well, because Lindisfarne is such a good team too, that I also think Lindisfarne has that shot to be that a contender for the top 25 as well. Yeah, that was just one of the other ones that I thought was I think one to watch. Like, if you have a chance to watch it, you should watch that game. Who was it? Oh yeah, Kelston had a good win. Kelston had a good win against Old which was 39-0 is a really good score. That's a good score to go off. Especially after a hard game against St. Peter's. I think Hamilton boys really showed what they were like, and getting 36 points in the rain, pouring down with rain, so muddy. I just think that's a pretty good thumbs up to what they are as a team. Obviously Taha playing good. Moses Magoon played really good too. Taylor played really good. Ollie Mathis played really good. Just an all-around good team. And I don't know. I think they kind of just separated themselves from everybody else in that Super 8. And so it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens from then on. St. Peter's against Tangaroa, 36-26. I don't know how... I mean, I think Tangaroa is a talented team with so much guys in their team, and would be a top 4 team in Auckland if they had just gotten fit. If they just got fit over the holidays, they would be fine, and we'd be talking about them in a different position on the Auckland ranks rather than that. If they were just fit, that's all it is. Tangaroa College just need a fitness program to get the boys what they need to be at in their positions that they play in rugby. If all of them hit their fitness targets, they would be one of the best. They would be a top 4 team in Auckland, 100%. They're just that talented. But St. Peter's letting them score 26 points, and I know St. Peter's had a young team on there, but I still kind of think that's with AJ playing that, and some of the other boys being in there too, is that I just think that they could have done more than 10 point or 10.1. Rotorua game was a really good one. Showed a lot of pace in that game. King's College and their win over Sacred Heart was. I like that they did huckers at the beginning. Auckland schools don't usually do huckers, but seeing those two schools do huckers against each other and just having that school pride. I wish Auckland schools would do huckers more, their own school huckers. That was cool to watch. Hastings, watching Gullah and Cooper go at each other as the two number 8s was such a good battle to watch. Obviously a wet day, but Hastings really did play good, and A1 had a massive game. A1 was the prop, Luciad prop, him and Gus Brown going at each other was pretty cool to watch too. And just every scrum was just a fight, and I really like. Obviously as a prop, I like watching that kind of stuff. It was cool watching St. Peter's and Francis Douglas play on Saturday as well. Even in that rain, I still thought it was a really good game. Francis Douglas had the opportunities. I didn't think they were going to win, but I think that they lost 2 really good opportunities to score tries right in the beginning, and then one after halftime where they should have scored really, really quickly after that kickoff. And that Jonty Short try was just one of those freak ones where he just ran off the kickoff ran the whole field and scored a try. And that's not really, that's not really anyone's fault, because, it's just kind of just a slippery day, and he just reacted faster than everybody else. And it was funny to watch because of how it happened. But it's just one of those sucky ass tries that you're just like, damn, we just let that one go so easily. St. Paul's carrying on with their winning ways. St. Bede's beating Timaru 37-16. That was the other thing, was the scores 37-16 as well. And then the other argument I think that I'm having a lot with people is that they're going, well, St. Thomas is at the top. So, like, St. Thomas, St. Bede's, and Timaru boys are all at the top of the 1, 2, and 3, all on the same points. With, I think it's Timaru, St. Bede's, St. Thomas. I think it is. Oh, no, it's St. Thomas, St. Bede's, Timaru. But all of them at the top with three. All three of them at the top with the same points, all at number 1 spot. And then and people keep asking me, it's like, well, you know, because all three teams are 6-1, everyone's going, well, why is St. Thomas not in the top 25? Which is a fair question if they're sitting 6-1 in the Miles Toyota. I can't even remember what it's called. Miles Toyota Cup, I think is what it's called. If they're 6-1 in that competition, why is it that they're not in the top 25? Now, the answer for that, easily the answer for that is that the one team that they lost to was St. Andrews. And so those 6 games that they won were the easier teams in that competition. Now, this is what the run is for St. Thomas, right? So, St. Thomas this week, they play Christchurch boys. Hard game. Then they should have it, and I don't know, they have a good shot at winning, but I don't know if they can win that one. Then they have Rangiora High School. They should win that one. They're going to win that one. That's my faith talking into. They're going to win that one. Then they've got Timaru boys. Then they've got Nelson College. Then they got Christ College. Then they got St. Bede's. That's their last run of the year. Christchurch, Rangiora, Timaru, Nelson, Christ, St. Bede's. Now, out of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, they've got that one against Rangiora. So out of the 5 games that they have to pick off at least two of those 5. They're not going to win all 5. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. They're just not. Christ is looking good right now. St. Bede's is the top team in the country. Nelson has had their stumbles but are back on track. Timaru is also at the top as well, along with them. And then Christchurch boys is always a highly talented team. And I don't know how St. Thomas is going to win all of those games, but they have to pick off at least 2 of those 5 to stay in contention for that top 4. If they lose all 5 of those games and just win the one Rangiora game, then that means they slip from number 1 spot all the way down to number 8. 7. Which takes them out of that position where they hold the key to them making it into the actual finals, right? And their top 4 part, which is where they want to finish. Now, I don't know how they're going to do it, because that's a hard ask for any team to do it. Stack had that same position last year, where they went on this big, massive run, but they had beaten all the easy teams first, and they had one hard game, which was their first game against Nelson, I think, and then all the rest were easy ones, and then they had all the hard ones at the end, and they ended up dropping from number 1 spot down to like 5th or something like that. St. Thomas have to do that right now. I don't know how they're going to do it, or even if they can do it, but they need to win. They're going to win the Rangiora. That's bet. Now, they have to win those, and I don't even know what team to pick out of them. Like, I don't know if Christchurch is going to be easier than Timaru or Nelson or Christ or St. Bede's. I mean, if you're just going on form, Christchurch boys will be the one that they could beat. Then the next one would be Nelson, I guess. They would have to have Nelson drive down. That would be into their advantage. But then that's kind of about it, you know. So I don't know how it's going to go for them, but that's the reality in these next up and coming weeks. And yeah, I just don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be a hard thing as well for them to accomplish, and that's just for any team. New Plymouth boys, they beat Tauranga. We're getting back to this. Nelson beat Selwyn School. St. Kennigan's won against Liston. Scots College won against Heaps, which was a really good game. I really liked watching that one. Stack beat Waimea combined. Mags won against Dilworth. Christ College won big over Shirley, which shouldn't have been that much. Not 63-5. That's Shirley. Something happened with Shirley. Because Christ is not 63-5 points better than Shirley. Otago beat St. Kevin's, and Christchurch boys won 65-0 over Aoraki combined. The all-confusing Harbour comp, where Rosmini beat Westlake. Manurewa just survived over Orewa. Massey and Takapuna drew, and then Whangarei boys beat Rangitoto, and anyone's going to win. I don't even know who's the strongest in that comp, but Westlake have now dropped 2 games, Manurewa and Rosmini. Orewa's picked up a few really good wins. Takapuna's done the same. Massey's done the same. Whangarei is also. So all these guys are all in the same position. I don't even know who's the strongest. It's supposed to be Westlake. And then it's supposed to be Manurewa second. Or one of those two are supposed to be first and second. To me, it's not even looking that way at all. So I don't know how they're going to figure that one out. Auckland Grammar won their game against De La Salle 27-19. Howick is still looking strong. Southern Cross beat Avondale 24-13. One Tree Hill won. Otahu is looking stronger again, beating Waitakere. McLean's and Ongehanga drew, which was like kind of a surprise. Both of them have been playing really good, but I don't know. Ongehanga is good, but I think this is their first draw because the other one, they were 3-0 before this, and then this is their first draw. So the 3-1-0, I guess, is what their record is. Botany beat Mount Roskill, which is 38-5 is a really good score. Waiuku beat Alfriston. This is down in counties. Pukekohe should actually, they should probably be playing. They need harder games. Pukekohe needs harder games. They should probably play. The other one I was thinking of was Matamata down here and Waikato, that are also running amok in their competition, that they're winning a lot of these games by 40-something points. But Pukekohe probably needs to play someone like Matamata. Orewa will be another school that will be good. If Pukekohe is playing in that North Harbour, maybe they should try and get them into the second round and see if they would be keen to jump into the second round. But they need harder games, Pukekohe, or else, they're not going to be getting any better. And I know that Pukekohe is looking to get better as a team, because I think that they're going to be looking for that co-ed spot where they're going to have to play St. Peter's School from Cambridge. Wesley will probably be another one as well that they'll have to jump into as well. So, if they want to get it better, they're just going to have to try and find some midweek teams that they can play and just to keep that up, because some of these games are looking like a training run for them, which isn't good at all. It's not good at all. Like I said, Matamata kept the Tricky Look Trophy down here in Waikato, and they beat Cambridge 18-3. Te Awamutu won against Rotorua. Fraser beat Morrinsville. Taumaranui and Kaukoroa they drew 17-all. What were the other ones? Thames Valley is Pyro is actually looking really good. Haven't lost a game yet. Looking like they can control that Thames Valley region. Whangamatai had a really big win over Waihi, which is somewhat Hauraki Plains is probably the other team you want to watch out for. Trident and Western Heights, this is in the Bay of Plenty. Those two drew 17-all. Kind of expected Trident to win that one. Whakatane had a good win over Rotorua Boys Colts. Te Taumata, 18-0 over John Paul. Taupo winning 8-0 over Katikati College. Wesley Rathgill game. Wesley won 31-15. I kind of thought Rathgill would have won that one. I was kind of looking at them at being the stronger team. Maybe the travel was too much because they went up to Wesley. I don't know what's going on with Fielding, but Fielding came up to Hamilton on Saturday and 41 points, and that's 2 games where they got 40 points scored on them, and that is not a Fielding side that I'm used to seeing, getting done by 40 points. You know, I don't know if some of you guys have seen it, but St. Paul's scored 3 tries within 5 minutes last week against Fielding. It was like 3 tries in 5 minutes. The game was over in 5 minutes. And it ended up being like 48, like 19 or something like that. And like just like any team that takes, you know, that scores 3 tries, after a while, you know, St. Paul's were trying to push everything and trying to chance everything that, I mean, if they had played properly the whole time, they would have pushed that to about 60. If they just stayed concentrating on you know, on what was going on. And yeah, it's just the way that kind of is. But something's going on in Fielding. St. John's put 41 points to 0 on Fielding. So it's, you know, feels uncomfortable even saying that because it's just not what you expect from that side. St. Pat's Town beat Minor College 45-3. Another score I didn't think that was going to be like that. A bit disappointed in Minor College. I thought they would have put up more of a fight. Maybe I need to try and get some kind of footage of the game, but you know, just looking at the scores wise, I think Minor College would have done better than that. Not won the game, but not 45-3. They're not that bad compared to Town. Rongotai beating St. Bernard's 24-7. Bishop Vere having a good win. Tawa defaulted, so Whited Upper won. Nainai lost to Upper Hutt High School. Kapiti College beat Paraparaumu College in that Kapiti Coast kind of battle that they have. That's always a big one. Down in the South Island, down at the Miles Toyota Championship, where Marlborough beat Rangiora 27-20. I heard it was a really good game. I'm trying to get some footage, but I heard that was a good game. St. Thomas beat Mid Canterbury 50-29. John McGlashan hammered Dunstan 61-7. That's not Dunstan. Dunstan should have done better than that. I know that Dunstan's not that bad. That scoreline is not supposed to be like that into, you know, those kind of teams. With those two teams, Wakatupu lost to Otago Boys 2nd 15, 38-33. Maiano Sparring beat Otago combined 30-10, and then South Otago High School lost to Waitaki Boys 8-19. I actually would have picked South Otago, but I don't know. I thought they would have been on a more better run. But yeah, that's kind of the week that we've been having. The new rankings will come out later on today. The Year 11 rankings will change as well for the top, and then there are some changes because I've seen some really good Year 11s this past week and what they were able to do, and so it's really cool to see what was happening. Odin Ryan played really good. You know, in that loss, I thought he was really good. Him and the 7. Can't remember his name. Sorry, bro. Can't remember the name. I have him in 7 for Palmy. Both ranked in the top 60. But that's all for now. That is fitting within this. We've got some other video clips coming out, so hold out for that. I'll see St. Bede's and St. Peter's. I'm trying to go to Otahanga and Englewood High School. Their exchange that they're having, and that's on Tuesday over in here in Odos. That doesn't mean anything to you guys around the country, most of them, but I try and see as much first 15 rugby as I can, and so Odos and Otahanga and Englewood will be the one on Tuesday that I'm going to go and see. Yeah, but that's all for me now. What up? Peace.